going through these challenges has made our faith stronger, and I think we're at a place now where I don't think we could have gotten to without these challenges, you know? My husband Chris and I had been married a couple years, and then we decided to get pregnant, and we were pregnant with our first child, Hazel. She was only like 3 weeks early, but she only weighed 3 pounds, 9 ounces. So Hazel had to stay in the neonatal intensive care unit. We thought it would be a few days. And then a few days turned into like a couple weeks, and then suddenly she's like really ill, and she's in like the back of the NICU with all the like, you know, really sick babies. She ended up finally starting to eat a little more. They were able to take her feeding tube out of her nose. She was drinking from her bottle a little bit, and so they let us take her home. And so she came home a few days before Christmas, which was like the best Christmas gift ever. Ended up, we kept her home. It was hard, you know, you have a new baby, you want to show everyone, but we really had to kind of like isolate ourselves and keep her home and not really let people come and see her. She couldn't nurse, and that's something as a mom, you feel like you should be able to feed your child, and wasn't really growing very much. No one could really tell us why. We had all the best doctors, and it's like everything that would come up would be like an anomaly, you know, and it's like, oh, that's just Hazel, that's just Hazel. And I feel like it's not supposed to be this way. Like parenting is hard, but you feel like it's not supposed to be this hard. But all through that, like Hazel is the most joyful little kid you'll ever meet. And so she's taught Chris and I a lot about joy, you know, despite your circumstance. I mean, you know, I have like so many pictures of her like in the hospital with like IVs hooked up to her or with her cast, and she's just got the biggest smile, and you would never know. Like she's just so happy. She has the joy of the Lord in her, and that has helped us. You know, God has used her to keep us, you know, hopeful and encouraged and everything. And we decided we wanted to, you know, grow our family, and she was about 2 years old, and so we got pregnant again, and we were shocked to find out that we were pregnant with twins. And I think our initial reaction, we just started like laughing, because we're just like, oh my gosh, like what are you doing, God? You know, we ended up finding out they were identical girls, and so I'm like picturing dressing them up in matching outfits and everything, and them like trying to trick us and switch places when they're older and things like that. It ended up turning out that I had caught this virus. It's called CMV, or cytomegalovirus. And I didn't know I had it, because for you, like an adult, you or I, to catch it, it's like basically a common cold. If you catch it in the first trimester of pregnancy, it's really fatal to the baby. Usually you miscarry, or the child is born with like severe mental or physical impairment. You know, some of the doctors recommended that we go ahead and end the pregnancy, and of course that wasn't for us. We just had faith and just kept believing and praying for healthy babies, and it was scary because every single time I went to an ultrasound, I'm just like praying for 2 heartbeats. But you know, God's done so many miracles in Hazel's body that we just felt for sure that he was gonna come through with this, and we were gonna like give God the glory and, you know, everything. And at my 28-week visit, they ended up realizing that they had developed twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, where basically one twin gives all the blood to the other twin. So one twin's heart has like too much blood and the other doesn't have enough. And so they had to do an emergency C-section, and they were like a pound each when they were born. I guess I felt really relieved, because I was like, wow, like we kind of thought we might end up miscarrying. And so it was like, okay, we crossed a hurdle. Like, okay, they're here now. We get to see them, you know, they're alive. So I was really encouraged and just kind of felt like, okay, like this is happening. We named them Ava Elise and Sadie Mae. And they were hooked up to all kinds of machines. You know, they couldn't breathe on their own. They were on ventilators and IVs. And, you know, we just kept praying and believing. And slowly but surely, they started to kind of come around. Sadie started doing really well, and she actually came off the ventilator. So we were like, all right, you know, here's God showing off, you know. And Ava was starting to do better as well. She was always a little sicker, but she was coming along. And so we were really hopeful that, you know, God was gonna do a miracle. And then all of a sudden, it was December 16th, so they were about 2 weeks old. And We got a phone call from the NICU. Ava, something was wrong with her heart and that we needed to get there right away. And so, we're like praying the whole way in the car, like crying out to God, like not to take her and everything. And, we get there and they're just telling us that things aren't looking good and that she's probably not gonna make it through the rest of the day. And we, just kept praying for several hours and, just trying to figure it out. And then I guess Chris felt like, he heard from God that it was time and it was okay. She took her last breath in my arms, and we started planning a memorial service. And then the day that the memorial service was scheduled, it was December 22nd, so almost a week later, we get another call from the NICU. And I didn't even want to answer the phone because I knew it was not going to be good news. And so sure enough, they're like, overnight, Sadie developed an intestinal infection and it's really bad. You need to get here like right away. We ended up having to have the service for both of the girls. And I was angry. I was like really angry at God. Like I don't think I ever believed that He made it happen, that it was His plan for us to get pregnant with twins, which is such a gift, and then to take them away. I didn't feel like it was His plan, but I know that He's in control. So I just didn't understand why He wouldn't stop it from happening, He had done stuff like that in Hazel. Why wouldn't He do that with the twins? And there was a worship song in church we would sing, and I would just cry, and I couldn't say the words. The line was like, you're never gonna let me down. And I'm like, but He did let me down. But I finally was able to realize, well, He didn't let me down. He's still here with me, and He's seeing me through my grief and my pain, and He's here with me. It's not like He made this happen and left, like this happened despite God, and He's still here, like carrying me through it. It was so important having our church family, surrounding us, and people lifting us up in prayer when we couldn't even pray because we were just depressed or angry or, I don't know, couldn't even lift up our hands, We don't always have to know all the answers why, and that's kind of comforting, At first I kept asking why, but I think we kind of realized that's not for us to know. We don't have to carry that weight. Like, we don't need to know. We just still know that God is good.